The last resort. Captain Reina Torres stood at the viewport of the experimental starship Helios, watching Earth's orbital shipyards grow smaller against the backdrop of stars. The massive vessel hummed with the power of its revolutionary quantum drive, technology that half the scientific community claimed would tear the ship apart, and the other half insisted was humanity's only hope. Final systems check complete, Captain, announced Lieutenant Kai Patel from his station, dark fingers dancing across holographic controls. Quantum core stable at 60% capacity. Reina nodded, her reflection in the viewport showing the same determined expression she'd worn through countless simulations and test runs. But this wasn't a simulation anymore. This was humanity's last desperate gambit to save millions of lives. Status of the Arcturus colony, she asked, though she already knew the answer. She'd memorized every detail of the approaching catastrophe, a massive cluster of asteroids, each large enough to devastate a planet, hurtling toward humanity's outer colony worlds at speeds that defied conventional intervention. 72 hours until impact, reported Commander Zara Winters, her second-in-command. The evacuation's only at 30%. They'll never get everyone out in time using standard ships. That was exactly why the Helios existed. Traditional engines couldn't reach the colonies in time to help. But the quantum drive, if it worked as theorized, could get them there in hours instead of weeks. The only problem was that no one had ever attempted a jump of this magnitude before. Message from Space Command, called out Communications Officer Raj Kumar, his usually cheerful voice tense. Admiral Harrison is demanding we abort the launch. Says the risk of a quantum core breach outweighs the potential benefits. Reina's jaw tightened. Harrison had opposed the Helios project from the start, arguing that experimental technology had no place in emergency response. He'd nearly succeeded in shutting them down 3 times during development. Acknowledge receipt of message, she ordered. But remind the Admiral that under Emergency Protocol 147, I have full discretion for this mission. She turned to address her bridge crew. I won't order any of you to stay. This is officially an unsanctioned rescue mission. If anyone wants to return to Earth, now's the time. The silence that followed spoke volumes. These weren't just the best crew she could have asked for, they were true believers in what the Helios represented. Innovation. Progress. The chance to prove that humanity could solve impossible problems through ingenuity and courage. Engineering reports quantum core optimization complete, announced Chief Engineer Yuki Tanaka through the comm. Her voice carried the precise clarity of someone who had quadruple-checked every calculation. We're as ready as we'll ever be, Captain. Reina took a deep breath, feeling the weight of command settle onto her shoulders. Plot a course for the Arcturus colony. Prepare for quantum jump initiation. The bridge crew moved with practiced efficiency, but there was an electric tension in the air. They'd done this in simulations hundreds of times, but reality was different. The quantum drive could tear them apart at the atomic level, or strand them in some unreachable corner of space-time. Multiple vessels launching from Earth, reported Tactical Officer James Chen. Looks like Harrison is sending interceptors. Of course he is, Reina muttered. Time to quantum core activation. 3 minutes, Kai answered. But those interceptors will reach us in 4. Then we'd better not waste any time. Reina opened a ship-wide channel. All hands, this is the captain. Secure for quantum jump. This is not a drill. Warning klaxons sounded throughout the ship as the quantum drive began its power-up sequence. The Helios conventional engines pushed them further from Earth, but the interceptors were gaining quickly. Incoming transmission from the lead interceptor, Raj announced. They're ordering us to power down immediately or they'll open fire. They're bluffing, Zara said confidently. They won't risk hitting the quantum core. Maybe, Reina replied. But let's not give them the chance to prove it. Kai, how soon can we jump? Quantum core at 85%. We need at least 95 for a safe jump. The first warning shot from the interceptors streaked past the Helios bow. Harrison was apparently willing to take more risks than Reyna had anticipated. Divert power from non-essential systems, she ordered. Everything we've got into the quantum core. The bridge lights dimmed as power was redirected. The quantum core's hum rose to a pitch that made Reyna's teeth vibrate. On her tactical display, she watched the interceptors spread out into an attack formation. 93%, Kai reported. 94. Another warning shot, closer this time. The interceptors were nearly in weapons range. Multiple targeting locks detected, James warned. They're really going to do it. 95%. Kai shouted. Ready for jump. Reyna gripped her command chair. Execute quantum jump now. Reality seemed to fold in on itself. The stars stretched into impossible lines of light, and for a moment that felt both instantaneous and eternal, the universe ceased to make sense to human perception. Then, with a flash that temporarily blinded everyone on the bridge, they emerged. Where Earth had been moments ago, now the red giant star of the Arcturus system filled the viewport. They'd traveled dozens of light-years in seconds. Status report. Reyna called out as soon as she could see clearly again. All systems operational, Kai reported, wonder in his voice. Quantum core stable. We actually did it. Position confirmed, James added. We're in the Arcturus system. The colony is coming into visual range now. Reyna allowed herself a small smile of triumph. The quantum drive worked. They'd proven everyone wrong. But there was no time to celebrate, they had a colony to save, and this was just the beginning. Take us into orbit, she ordered. And get me a direct line to the colony governor. Tell them help has arrived. As the Helios moved toward the threatened colony, Reyna knew they'd crossed a threshold. They'd not only defied the odds and their critics, they'd opened up a new chapter in human space travel. But first, they had to prove that their revolutionary technology could do what it was designed for, save lives. The asteroid cluster loomed in the distance, a dark mass against the stars. Reyna and her crew had 72 hours to figure out how to stop it. The real test was just beginning. Quantum rebellion. The Helios hung in orbit above Arcturus colony, its quantum core humming quietly as engineering teams ran diagnostics on the revolutionary drive system. Through the main viewport, Captain Reyna Torres watched streams of evacuation ships rising from the surface like a river of lights against the planet's darkness. Governor Jensen is hailing us again, Raj announced from his communication station. Along with 3 messages from Earth Command and something unusual from the Centaurian embassy. Reyna raised an eyebrow. The Centaurians were humanity's oldest alien allies, but they'd been suspiciously quiet about the asteroid crisis. Put the governor through first. The holographic display flickered to life, showing Governor Jensen's weathered face. Captain Torres, I appreciate your arrival, but I'm receiving some disturbing reports from Earth. They're saying your ship is unauthorized, potentially dangerous. That your drive system could. Governor, Reyna interrupted firmly, in 70 hours, a cluster of asteroids will impact this colony. The quantum drive that brought us here is our best chance at preventing that catastrophe. Would you rather we hadn't come? Jensen's expression tightened. Of course not. But Space Command is demanding we deny you assistance or landing rights. They're claiming your quantum drive could destabilize our entire planetary system. Theoretical fearmongering, Chief Engineer Yuki's voice cut in from engineering. The quantum field effects are completely contained within our drive shell. We've run thousands of simulations, which have never been validated in real-world conditions. A new voice joined the conversation as a second hologram appeared, the distinct crystalline form of Ambassador Var 9 of the Centaurian Collective. Reyna managed to hide her surprise. The Centaurians rarely intervened in human affairs so directly. "Ambassador, I wasn't aware your people had taken an interest in our situation." The crystalline being's facets shifted in what Reyna had learned was their equivalent of a diplomatic smile. "Captain Torres, we have been monitoring your quantum drive project with great interest and concern. Such technology, in its infancy, poses risks you may not fully comprehend. With respect, Ambassador," Commander Winters stepped forward, "we don't have the luxury of waiting for the technology to mature. Those asteroids could be handled by a joint Centaurian-human task force using conventional means," Var9 interrupted. "We are prepared to offer our assistance, provided the Helios powers down its quantum drive and submits to a full inspection." Reyna felt her crew's eyes on her. The Centaurians' offer was generous on the surface, but something felt wrong. Their timing was too convenient, their sudden interest too pointed. "Lieutenant Patel," she called out, "what's the status of the asteroid cluster?" Kai's fingers flew over his console. "Tracking confirms multiple bodies, largest approximately 3 kilometers in diameter. Their velocity." He paused, double-checking his readings. "Captain, these asteroids are accelerating." "That's impossible," Governor Jensen protested. "Natural bodies don't." "They do if they're being pushed," James Chen interrupted from Tactical. "Captain, I'm detecting energy signatures within the cluster. Very faint, but consistent with propulsion technology." The pieces clicked into place. Reyna turned to Ambassador Var9's hologram. "This isn't about safety concerns, is it? You're worried we've developed quantum drive technology before you?" The Centaurian's crystalline surface rippled with colors, surprise, perhaps, or annoyance. "Captain Torres, I assure you." "Security breach!" Raj suddenly shouted. "Someone's accessing our quantum core controls remotely." "Multiple ships dropping out of FTL," James reported. "Centaurian design, military configuration." Reyna's mind raced. Breaking point. The Helios shuddered as another Centaurian energy blast glanced off its shields. Inside the bridge, warning lights flashed as Captain Reyna Torres watched the tactical display with growing concern. The asteroid cluster, now revealed as a carefully orchestrated threat, continued its inexorable approach toward Arcturus colony. "Shields at 63%, James reported from Tactical, his voice steady despite the situation. "The Centaurians are herding us away from the asteroids." "Quantum core holding stable," Yuki's voice came through from engineering, underscored by the whine of stressed systems. "But these evasive maneuvers are burning through our power reserves." Reyna studied the tactical display, mind racing. The Centaurian ships were faster and more maneuverable than the Helios in conventional space, but they were also being careful, too careful. "They don't want to destroy us," she realized aloud. "They want to capture the quantum drive intact." "Captain," Kai called out urgently, "I'm detecting unusual readings from the quantum core. The battle stress is causing some kind of resonance effect." "Define unusual," Zara demanded, moving to his station. "The quantum field is expanding. It's like the core is trying to encompass a larger area than our containment systems were designed for." Another hit rocked the ship. Through the viewport, Reyna watched as 2 more Centaurian vessels emerged from FTL, joining the others in their attack pattern. "Message from Governor Jensen," Raj announced. "The colony's automated defenses are online, but they won't make a dent in those asteroids. We have less than 40 hours until impact." Reyna felt the weight of command pressing down on her shoulders. They were out of time for careful solutions. "Yuki, what would happen if we deliberately expanded the quantum field?" "Captain?" Yuki's voice was sharp with surprise. "The containment system wasn't designed for that. We have no idea what would." "Theoretically," Reyna pressed. "What would happen?" A moment of silence filled only by the sounds of battle. Theoretically, the field could envelop other objects. Bring them into our quantum envelope. But the power requirements would be enormous, and the calculations would have to be perfect. Could we envelop the asteroids? Captain, Zara stepped closer, her voice low. If the field calculations are off by even a fraction, we could tear ourselves, and half the system, apart. And if we do nothing, millions die. Reyna straightened. Yuki, begin calculations for a maximum field expansion. Everyone else, I need options for getting past that blockade. Wait, Kai interrupted, his hands flying over his console. These readings. Captain, I don't think the quantum field expansion is just a malfunction. The core is reacting to the Centaurian weapons fire. They're energy weapons, they're based on similar principles to our quantum technology. Reyna's eyes widened as the implications hit her. They didn't develop quantum technology first. They've been trying to crack it too. That's why they're so desperate to stop us, we solved it before they did. Incoming transmission, Raj announced. It's Ambassador Var9 again. Put them through. Reyna turned to face the hologram as it formed, showing the crystalline alien's now agitated form. Captain Torres, Var9's tone was urgent. Your ship's quantum field is becoming dangerously unstable. For everyone's safety, you must. Must what, Ambassador? Watch millions die while you steal our technology. We know what you're trying to do. The Centaurian's crystalline surface rippled with complex patterns. You don't understand. The quantum principles involved are beyond. They're beyond your understanding, Reyna cut in. But not ours. Kai, what's the status of that field expansion? Growing steadily, Captain. The Centaurian weapons are actually feeding it somehow. A new alarm blared. Multiple impacts on the asteroid cluster, James reported. The colony's automated defenses are firing. Useless, Zara muttered. Those defense platforms weren't designed for. She trailed off as they watched the tactical display. Where the defense platform's energy weapons struck the asteroids, small quantum fields were forming. They modified the colony's defenses, Reyna realized. They're using our own quantum principles against us. Captain, Yuki's voice was tight with excitement. If those defense platforms are creating quantum fields, and we can synchronize them with our expanded field, we could create a quantum net, Kai finished. Large enough to envelope the entire asteroid cluster. And then what? Zara demanded. We can't just. We can jump it, Reyna said quietly. Every head on the bridge turned to her. If we can encompass the asteroids in our quantum field, we can make a targeted jump. Take the entire cluster somewhere harmless. The calculations would have to be perfect, Yuki warned. And we'd need to coordinate with the colony's defense grid while under fire. Then let's give them something else to shoot at. Reyna opened a ship-wide channel. All hands, prepare for emergency maneuvers. Engineering, divert all non-essential power to the quantum core. Tactical, target their propulsion systems, we don't need to destroy them, just keep them busy. The Helios surged forward, its conventional engines pushing to full power as the quantum core began to pulse with unprecedented energy. Around them, space itself seemed to shimmer as the quantum field expanded. Multiple quantum field interactions detected, Kai reported. The defense platforms are responding to our field frequency. Through the viewport, Reyna watched as ethereal tendrils of quantum energy began to reach out from the Helios, connecting with similar emanations from the colony's defense platforms. The Centaurian ships fell back, their weapons fire becoming erratic as they faced something they'd never seen before. Field coherence at 80%, Yuki announced. The asteroid cluster is almost within our envelope. Reyna took a deep breath. They were about to attempt something that existed only in theory, a massive quantum jump involving multiple synchronized fields and millions of tons of matter. If it worked, they'd save the colony and prove humanity's mastery of quantum technology. If it failed, all hands, she announced, her voice steady. Prepare for quantum jump. And pray we got the math right. The price of defiance. The universe bent. There was no other way to describe what happened when the Helios activated its expanded quantum field. Space itself seemed to fold around them, encompassing not just the ship but the entire asteroid cluster caught in their makeshift quantum net. The bridge crew watched in stunned silence as reality distorted, stretched, and then darkness. The main power failed first, plunging the bridge into shadow before emergency lights sputtered to life. Captain Reina Torres pulled herself up from where the final jump had thrown her, tasting blood from where she'd bit her lip. "Status report," she called out, her voice hoarse. "Someone tell me we succeeded." "Auxiliary power online," Kai responded, his console flickering back to life. "Main systems rebooting. Quantum core is inactive." "Define inactive," Reina demanded, making her way to his station. "It's not damaged," Yuki's tired voice came through the comm, "but it's completely drained. We pushed it far beyond its designed limits. The containment systems are barely holding." "The asteroids?" Zara asked, helping James back to his tactical station. A tense moment passed as they waited for sensors to come back online. Then James let out a laugh of pure relief. "Gone. We did it. The entire cluster is, well, somewhere else." "Where exactly did we send them?" Raj asked, working to restore communications. "Based on our targeting calculations," Kai replied, "a stable orbit around the system sun, well away from any populated worlds or shipping lanes." "Assuming the calculations worked correctly." "They worked," Yuki insisted. "But the quantum core." "Captain, we have bigger problems." As if to emphasize her point, a low vibration began to run through the ship. On the main viewer, now functioning at partial power, they could see strange ripples in space around the Helios. "Quantum field instability," Kai reported, his voice tense. The expanded field didn't fully collapse after the jump. "We're leaving, tears in space-time." "The Centaurians were right," Zara said quietly. "This technology wasn't ready for what we just did." "Multiple ships approaching," James announced. "Centaurian vessels, plus." He paused, surprised. "Earth ships. A lot of them." The main viewer showed the approaching fleet. The Centaurian ships held back, their previous aggression replaced by what looked like caution. The Earth vessels, led by what Reina recognized as Admiral Harrison's flagship, moved into defensive positions around the Helios. "We're being hailed," Raj reported. "It's Admiral Harrison." Reina straightened her uniform, wiping blood from her lip. "Put him through." Admiral Harrison's hologram appeared, his expression a complex mix of anger, concern, and something that might have been respect. "Captain Torres. What you've done, do you have any idea of the diplomatic crisis you've triggered?" "With all due respect, Admiral," Reina replied, "the diplomatic crisis began when the Centaurians engineered this entire situation to steal our technology. We have proof." "We know," Harrison's response surprised her. "Your transmission about the modified defense platforms reached Earth. Combined with some already suspicious patterns we'd been investigating, let's just say the political landscape has shifted dramatically in the last few hours." Another alarm began to sound. "Captain," Yuki's voice was urgent now. "The quantum core's containment is failing. These spacetime tears, they're spreading. If we don't find a way to stabilize the field soon." She didn't need to finish. Everyone knew the theoretical risks of quantum field collapse, risks that were now becoming terrifyingly real. "The Centaurians are hailing us," Raj announced. "Put them through," alongside the Admiral, Reyna ordered. Ambassador Varnina's hologram appeared, their crystalline form showing signs of agitation. Captain Torres, the ambassador began, your actions were unprecedented. But perhaps not unwarranted, given the circumstances we created. The admission seemed to cause the alien physical discomfort. We offer our assistance in stabilizing your quantum core. Why would you help us now? Zara demanded. Because the tears your ship is creating will affect everyone, Varnine replied. And because we were wrong. Your species has demonstrated a mastery of quantum principles that we had not thought possible. The collective has voted to share our research, if you will share yours. Captain, Yuki cut in, the containment fields are at critical. Whatever we're going to do, we need to do it now. Reyna looked at Harrison's hologram. Admiral? He nodded grimly. Work with them. That's an order, Captain. We can sort out the politics after we prevent a quantum disaster. The ship shuddered again as another tear formed in the fabric of spacetime. Reyna watched as both human and Centaurian ships moved to surround the Helios, preparing for a joint operation that would have seemed impossible hours ago. Yuki, coordinate with the Centaurian engineers. Kai, I need constant monitoring of those spatial tiers. Everyone else, prepare for emergency procedures. We saved one colony today, let's not destroy it by accidentally ripping apart spacetime. As her crew rushed to comply, Reyna faced the viewport, watching the ripples in space grow larger. They'd proven human ingenuity could match and even exceed alien technology. They'd saved millions of lives. But now they had to deal with the consequences of pushing experimental technology to its limits. The price of defiance, she realized, wasn't just paid in the moment of rebellion, but in all the moments that followed. And this bill was far from settled. Legacy of the stars. Space rippled like water around the Helios, tears in reality spreading outward from the ship's quantum core. On the bridge, Captain Reyna Torres watched as human and Centaurian ships worked in concert, using their combined technology to contain the damage her crew's desperate gambit had caused. Quantum containment at 20% and falling, Kai reported, his fingers dancing across his console. The Centaurian energy fields are slowing the degradation, but not stopping it. Through the main viewer, Reyna could see the ethereal streams of energy being projected from the alien vessels, trying to stabilize the growing tears in spacetime. Earth ships held position around them, their conventional shields modified to redirect quantum energy. Captain, Yuki's voice came through from engineering, accompanied by the sound of failing systems. The Centaurian quantum experts have a theory. They say our core isn't just unstable, it's evolving. Evolving? Zara questioned. How can technology evolve? The quantum principles we based our drive on, Yuki explained, they're more fundamental than we realized. The Centaurians spent decades trying to control quantum fields. We succeeded because we did something they never tried, we let the fields influence the technology. A new alarm blared as another tier formed, this one larger than the others. Containment down to 15%, Kai warned. Whatever we're going to do, we need to do it fast. Reyna turned to the dual holograms of Admiral Harrison and Ambassador Varnine. What are our options? Conventional wisdom would suggest destroying the core. Varnina's crystalline form shifted uncomfortably. But given the current instability, that could trigger a cascade reaction. We could try to eject it, Harrison suggested. Get it far enough away. No, Yuki interrupted. The core is linked to the ship now. It's learned from what we did. From how we used it to save the colony. Reyna's eyes widened as understanding dawned. It's not just evolving, it's adapting. We designed it to solve problems, and now it's trying to solve its own instability. But it can't, Kai added, because our containment systems are fighting it. We're trying to force it back into its original state. Then we stop fighting it, Reyna decided. Yuki, remove all containment restrictions. Let the core fully interact with the ship's systems. Captain, Harrison's hologram stepped forward. The risk is less than certain destruction, Reyna cut him off. The quantum drive got us this far by breaking the rules of what we thought was possible. Maybe it's time we let it show us what else it can do. A moment of tense silence followed. Then Ambassador Varnine spoke. The human captain is correct. Our own failures came from trying to control quantum mechanics rather than work with them. Perhaps it is time we learned from their example. Harrison nodded grimly. Do it. But get your crew to emergency stations first. All hands, Reyna announced shipwide, this is the captain. Prepare for possible quantum event. This is not an evacuation, I need everyone at their posts, ready to respond to whatever happens next. Containment protocols disengaging, Yuki reported. Quantum core energy is spreading throughout the ship's systems. The Helios shuddered as the quantum field began to expand once more. But this time it was different, more controlled, more purposeful. The tears in spacetime started to pulse with the same rhythm as the ship's power systems. Remarkable, Varnine observed. The quantum field is self-organizing, creating new patterns we never conceived of. Power levels rising across all systems, Kai reported. The core it's rewriting its own operational protocols. Through the viewport, Reyna watched as the spatial tears began to seal themselves, the quantum energy that had been tearing reality apart now working to repair it. The Helios hummed with power that felt different from anything they'd experienced before. The quantum field has stabilized, Yuki announced, wonder in her voice. But the core. Captain, it's not just a drive system anymore. It's become something new. New how? Harrison demanded. It's integrated itself into every system on the ship, Kai explained. The Helios isn't just equipped with a quantum drive anymore, it's become a quantum ship. Ambassador Varnine's crystalline form flickered with what might have been excitement. You have achieved what my people thought impossible, true synthesis with quantum mechanics. This will change everything. It already has, Reyna replied, watching as the last spatial tears sealed themselves. The question is, what do we do with this change? Harrison's hologram smiled slightly. Well, Captain, given that your ship just evolved into something unprecedented while simultaneously preventing a catastrophe and forcing a technological partnership with the Centaurians, I'd say that's up to you. Reyna looked around at her crew, humans who had been willing to risk everything to save lives and push the boundaries of what was possible. Then she looked at the Centaurian ships, no longer adversaries but potential partners in exploring this new frontier they discovered. We do what humanity has always done, she declared. We explore. We learn. We grow. And this time, we do it together. The collective agrees, Varnine said. We propose a joint mission, human and Centaurian scientists working together to understand this new quantum technology. With your crew showing the way, of course. Admiral? Reyna asked. Harrison shrugged. The paperwork will be hell. But you've earned it, Captain. The Helios and her crew are hereby authorized to lead the Joint Quantum Exploration Initiative. Try not to rewrite the laws of physics again without warning us first. Reyna smiled. No promises, Admiral. The universe just got a lot bigger, and we've got a lot of exploring to do. As the bridge crew began coordinating with both human and Centaurian ships for their next steps, Reyna felt the Helios pulse with its new quantum energy. They had set out to save one colony and ended up transforming humanity's place among the stars. Not bad for an unauthorized rescue mission. The ship's quantum systems hummed in harmony with her thoughts, ready to take them wherever they needed to go next. The future was uncertain, but one thing was clear, humanity's bold defiance had earned them not just survival, but a new destiny among the stars. And they were just getting started.